one thing I wanted to talk about really quick on this meeting, this is kind of going to be the bulk of the meeting here, is American Amicable's different riders. So like the grandchildren rider. I want to talk a little bit about accidental death, not so much the nursing home waiver, but also the confined care, rider as well. So two of those riders with AMAM are kind of, they're free, right? The terminal illness riders is on every single plan. Doesn't matter what they get approved for. If they get approved, they're going to have that rider free of cost. And why is this like important, right? Like, you guys know me, I don't really talk about stuff that doesn't help the advancement of either persistency or making a sale, right? And so AMAM has been a lead carrier of mine for a while. And I know, like, we see like the new Psycha product, right? And, congestive heart failure is an approval with them. And, a couple other crazy approvals that they're going to be giving out. And so a lot of new agents will be switching around carriers, just trying to see which one works best. In my opinion, don't fix what's not broken, right? I mean, AMAM has been a solid carrier for this long, and they have a bunch of living benefits that help with persistency. And so I'm going to kind of share with you guys how, I'm able to keep my persistency up and how to use that information for when clients call in to cancel and stuff like that. What kind of tools do you have in your tool bag, right, to help with those kind of calls and conversations? So what I'm in is the marketing side of AMAM here. I'm just going to show you how to get to that training, if I can remember. But it's, let's see here, e-training. Everybody has access to this. This is kind of how you look at your book with AMAM. And then under the products, I just do final expense product training, and then final expense riders. So we're not going to like watch the whole video or anything, but there's some good illustrations on this sheet that he talks about. So the terminal illness rider, this just means that if they're ever diagnosed with a terminal illness and expected to live less than 12 months, they can tap in and use that benefit, and it doesn't cost them anything. The confined, and it's included on all plans in all ages, right? The graded death benefit, they get this, the immediate death benefit, and the return of premium plan, it's already included, right? So this is just kind of breaking down how the riders work. So they'll get up to 100% of the death benefit when they, if they're expected to pass in 12 months or less, 24 months in some states, right? I just keep it simple. I just say, yeah, if you're ever diagnosed with something crazy like cancer or leukemia or something like that, they'll let you use 100% of the death benefit. And then I'll ask them like, hey, isn't that pretty neat? And they're like, yeah. And it kind of shifts it from being a benefit from when they die to possibly being able to use it when they're still alive, right? And that's the thing, is most people think that this is just something that, they'll never see the fruits of. The confined care is another pretty neat one, right? If they're confined to a nursing home for at least 30 days, and guys, when you hit a nursing home, most people don't come out of nursing homes, right? They can receive a monthly payment up to $5,000. So like if they had a $20,000 policy, they would get a $1,000 check 5 times, because it's 5% of the face amount. Does that make sense? I don't really explain it to them. I try not to get lost in the numbers and stuff like that. But I really explain the terminal illness rider, and I briefly cover the confined care. So if you're ever in the nursing home, there's some living benefits available to you as well. And if they ask about it, then, obviously you guys can kind of jump in to there. But again, it's a monthly benefit of 5% of the face amount, right? So 5% of 40,000 or whatever they get. If it's $5,000 face amount, 7,000, 8,000, they're just going to get 5% of that, up to $5,000 in total. So these are the free riders. And I talk about them on every single American Amicable policy that I sell, because it does add that extra value, right? It's kind of like the sizzle to the steak. My old brokerage manager, Joe Cirillo, used to talk about that. He'd be like, don't sell the steak, sell the sizzle. And I know he got that from another movie or something, but it's true. I mean, they want the extra little bells and whistles, right? So by now, we've already secured the sale, right? We're quoting possibly, or maybe we're about to secure the sale when we talk about these riders. Okay, and we'll role play this just to kind of bring it all together. And then this next piece is around 3 minutes. Let me just make sure, 3 minutes and 14. There. So this is a very unique rider for American Amicable. It provides protection on each grandchild. They can do up to 4 grandkids all the way until they're age 20. So technically 21, because once they hit 21, they will have to get their own insurance. So if you guys are having trouble selling based on value, and maybe we're just talking about price a little bit too much up front, and as an agent, we're struggling, right? Like, where do I build a rapport? I know you're halfway through your call, you're like, man, I know there's some rapport I could build in here, but this guy's dry or whatever, right? Or this girl's dry, you know what I mean? So how can you build a rapport with that, right? This is where I like to build this up, is when you ask about the beneficiary. So who would you be leaving this $20,000 to? Or who would you be leaving the death benefit to? Who would be picking up any pieces or tying any loose ends, right? Oh, it's probably going to be, you know, my sister, my daughter, or my son, right? Oh, that's awesome. Do you have any grandkids? Yeah, actually I do. And I'll start building rapport on the grandkids, but that's going to let me know, obviously, if we lead with American Amicable, this might be another value add for that client, right? If they do have grandkids. And I like to build rapport on that. Yeah, my grandma raised me, you know, since I was like born, basically. I have a really good relationship with her. And, you know, it sounds like you have a really good relationship with your grandkids too, right? And they're like, yeah, or whatever the case is, right? So you're just kind of building rapport on that. This is going to guarantee their insurability for up to $50,000. That's huge. So regardless of whatever health complications they might come into, you know, in life, from the ages of 6 months all the way up to 15 years old, those are the days that, you know, they can't be less than 180 days old or older than 15 years old to qualify. But that's life, you know, sometimes stuff happens, and you know, those kids typically won't. So what am I trying to say is, basically, parents won't really look for life insurance for their kids when they're like past 6 months. If it's before 6 months, then they know the importance of life insurance, and they know that, hey, I'm going to get a policy out on them while they're really young. And it's something they've already been sold on, right? So you'll get some of those too. But most parents don't really look for life insurance when a kid's like 10, right? Unless they got sold on it, or unless something might be happening with that kid, or that kid's misbehaving, maybe hanging with the wrong crowd of people, whatever the case is, or maybe they lost a sibling. Okay, that's just a reality kind of these products. So that's huge, is guaranteeing their insurability for up to $50,000. Okay, per kid. It's only $1. This is only $1 to add per unit. And I want you to think of it this way, because sometimes I get confused. You can only get each kid, you can only spend a maximum of $2 on. So even if you max out the entire riders, right? Each grandchild you can only spend a maximum of $2 on each kid. And each unit is $5,000. So each unit is $1. They can each get 2 units. And here's like kind of the description below. So 4 grandchildren at 10,000 each, which would be what? 2 units, right? Well, that's 4 times 2, which is $8 a month. So even if they said, I want all my grandchildren to have the maximum amount of coverage each, $10,000 per grandkid, it would only be $8. There's no possible way that they could spend more than $8 on this rider. So if you're doing calculations in your head and they have 10 grandkids, right, and you're like trying to calculate it, and you're over $8, then you're doing the math wrong, because they can only get, right, 2 units per grandkid. Each unit's $1, and that's $5,000 in coverage. And I know it's, the more you look at it, the more easier it is, right? But that's kind of the benefits of, you know, the grandchildren rider. So any questions on that so far? Am I explaining that okay?
Yeah, Anthony, they don't need their socials, do they?
No. Yeah, and so let's look at, actually, while I'm in here.
Is there a limit to the number of grandkids?
Yeah, great question. So it's 4 grandchildren.
That's the limit. 4.
4, yeah. Yeah, and I'll copy this link and I'll email it to you guys, just if you want to watch this video. There's other things that he covers in here, but Yeah, since I'm already on this part, let's go ahead and watch it really quick, just because it's pretty informative and important. So let me do this, because I know you guys can't hear it if I don't do it this way.
Benefit, right? This product also helps your persistency and helps you get more referrals. What I mean by persistency is that if down the road, grandma or grandpa calls you up and says, you know, I've had this for 4 or 5 years. I'm not sure if I need it. I'm not sure if I want it. Not sure if I can afford it. I'm not even sure what it does. And you remind them, hey, you've got X amount of coverage for yourself. You've also got your 4 grandkids on here for $10,000 of coverage each. And that's what you've insured them for. Most of the time when you remind your children, your client, that their grandkids are on there, they're going to keep their policy in force because of that. Okay, that's number one. Now, number two, on the referral side, when you insure the grandkids, it's probably best that you sit down with the grandkids' parents, or the kids of grandma and grandpa here, to tell them what grandma has done for them, or grandpa, whatever the case is. So when you do that, what a great time to review the grandchild rider itself, how they can buy insurance in the future, but also to talk about your client's current insurance situation. Talk about whether you sell health insurance or just life insurance or whatever it is that you do professionally. It's a nice door opener and a nice stepping stone from one generation to the next, and it creates value that way for you as well. So utilize this rider, and when you get it placed, know that, hey, you've got another appointment you have to make. You need to tell the parents what's going on with this rider.
So pretty good point, right? On the referral side of things. And when you guys go to do the annual policy review, and that's another reason why, you want to make sure that you download the application and put everything, as much notes as you can in the CRM to help you out, especially with those policy reviews. So cool. Any other questions on those riders? Okay. So when we're talking about the riders and we're in the application, it's super simple to basically add this into the application. I feel like I have to show this. So, we're in here filling out this portion, tobacco, we're probably going to go for immediate. We're all checking this box. Accidental death, the way I quote it in the quote every time, because it just makes the most sense. Right? In a quote accidental, you just hit this button on the drop down on FEX toolkits and it has the rate right here. So it would go from 80.96 to 86.24. So when I quote clients, like I typically will just say, the name of the company is American Amicable. They've been around since, yada, yada, yada. They're an A-rated carrier. And this includes accidental. It would only be $86.24 a month. Right. So I just include it in there on every single one. I feel like I'd be doing them a disservice not to. And there's a couple reasons why, but mainly I got burnt in the past like 3 or 4 times because an agent went behind me and sold my client the same freaking policy with accidental death attached to it. And that was the only reason. And so when I'm in here talking about these riders and I'm in the application and I'll ask them, hey, are you familiar with how accidental death works? And if they say yes, I still explain it to them. Okay, cool. So, if you pass away in an accident, they'll get double the amount. Right. And if they say no, it's the same thing. Okay, great. Well, it's actually pretty cool. If you pass away in an accident, like a car accident, God forbid a teenager swerves in your lane and hits you while you're driving. It would, Susie would get $20,000 instead of $10,000 in coverage. If they want to know the price without it, they'll ask you, what is it without the accidental? And I go, it's only $6 more. So it's $80. It's a no-brainer. Oh yeah, just leave it on there then. Most of the time, guys, when they're young and healthy, it's literally $1 most of the time. It's like $1, $2, $3 sometimes. And then when we're in the application, right, we're going to put the accidental death to match the death benefit. So if they're getting 10,000 in coverage, we're just putting 10 grand here, right? And then down here, you'll see your grandchild rider, how many grandchildren are applying, right? So if you have 2 grandkids, or do you want them to get 1 unit per grandkid or 2 units per grandkid, right? So let's say it's 2 units. Who knows the math on that? How much would this be? Yes, 4. That's it, $4, right? If it's just 2 grandkids and 1 unit of coverage, $2. Super simple, right? So payment mode, monthly. And right here, not to skip over it, but this is kind of how I bring it up. Well, hey, Susie, I know you told me that you have a pretty good relationship with your grandbabies. Do they have any life insurance? See what they say. Oh, yeah, their mom takes care of that, whatever the case is. And then just tell them, hey, normally the mom does take care of it, but there's also something else that's available to you in these policies. And I just like to let you know everything that's available to you. Sometimes my clients get upset with me if I don't explain what's available to them, right? And then that way they kind of like, they don't think it's salesy or whatever. You're just trying to do a good job of explaining the entire policy to them, and they'll appreciate that, right? So what this is you can actually give, little Jonathan $10,000 of coverage up until he's the age 21. Guess how much that would be? It's only $2. Like, oh, go ahead and add it, right? Well, you want any more grandkids with that? And they're just like, they'll tell you from there, yes or no, right? If you're afraid of this conversation, I understand. You might think it'll open up some worms. And if they do give you like any pushback or like maybe like, oh yeah, you know what, I need to think about it. Just go, okay, that's fine. Well, nothing's set in stone. Once you get this in the mail, we can always add this within that first 30 days, right? And that's kind of how I move past that. So yeah, from here, I mean, you're just filling out the rest of the application, right? So cool. Any questions on that?
It might be a stupid question, but if they get it on a grandkid that's 18, once they hit 21, can they remove it to have their price go down that $2 a month or $1 a month or whatever?
Well, they can only get it at 15.
So if they did that, could they remove it in 8 years?
No, I don't think you can remove the grandchild rider. Yeah. After I think the 30 days, it kind of gets it would be a different type of policy, if that makes sense. So cool. Let's see.
You can write them up to age 15, but they'll be insured to age 21.
That's right. And you're guaranteeing their insurability for up to $50,000 with American Amicable. So let's say they had a heart attack when they were 20 or 19, right? They can still get that immediate death benefit of up to $50,000 by converting this into a whole life when they're, or I'm sorry, it might be a term. I'll get clarification on that, but you're basically going to guarantee their insurability regardless of their health after that time expires.
So even if they have a grandkid that's 7 who has leukemia, they could still get this rider on it, and that would get them in, and then they can guarantee it up to 50,000 still.
So you'd technically have to disclose that information in the application, in the agent remarks about the child with leukemia. Even though there's no health questions for them, that would affect the insurability. And so as their agent, like you don't want to try to sidestep that, you know what I mean? Because if they have that rider and they pay the $2 extra and something does happen to them and they don't pay out, it would just be like a bad look, you know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, I would still go for it though, but just put in the notes like, grandchild has XYZ. Let me see actually something. So this would go here. I mean, it's obviously going to make me put the birthday. I don't think there's questions, but I might be wrong. I have no idea. How old would I be? 60 something? 65? 68?
59.
69? All right. 59?
59, right?
Oh, wow. All the way off, man. All right, let's see.
Maybe yeah, maybe you're 60.
So $50. Yeah, I think it does actually ask them questions about the grandchild. Let me see really quick. Sorry, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to hop off mute. No, I guess not. I mean, I think it would pop up. Oh, here we go. Okay, yeah. So to the best of my knowledge and belief, none of the children listed above for coverage have been treated for or told by a physician that they have had any of the following medical conditions: hypertension, heart, or circulatory disorder. Yeah, so it would pretty much cover it right here. Hospitalized for asthma or any respiratory disorder. And list the names of the children that are exceptions to the PI's health information. Children listed as an exception are excluded from the children's insurance agreement. Okay, so yeah, it would give you the list right here of medical questions. So good question. And it's not a surprise. So I guess you just read them this, you know what I mean? Just to make sure. I adopted a formula.